Okay, I've started the recording now, and I'm hoping that everyone has joined us. And I just was getting ready to say that Crystal Miller is infamous in the BMITE division. She's been with us for quite some time. And Crystal, how many years have you been presenting to our new teachers now?
This is my 8th.
8th year. So see, she's got this down pat. She's an amazing instructor. She comes to us from Northeast Technology Center. She is in the BITE division, and she's taught a lot of different things. She's been one of the pioneers of our division, and she actually is the one that came up with the new program area that included the IT type activities for the business management cluster, making that a more rounded type of outcome, where those smaller areas needed those employees who were more well-rounded in the IT area. They could do the brochures, they could do they could keep the website going, they could you know, whatever needed to be done. They could maybe even do a video in some cases. And so she's been instrumental in helping us see how a small tech center can work with a small rural community and make those vital industry connections that helped her program become one of those premier type programs that is partnered with industry in such a great way. So Crystal, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you start your thing. I've told them that this was going to be their best day ever, and I have no doubt that it will be. So Crystal, take it away.
Thank you. We are going to go over establishing a quality program for tech centers. Let me see if I can get this together. There we go. The basics. These are the things we're going to go over. So the first week of school, what you need to have prepared. You need to have your rules and policies, your classroom and technology center. So yes, I have my tech center already has a set of rules and procedures that we go over, but I also have some for my classroom as well. I have my calendars and schedules ready, safety and classroom procedures, have lesson plans, which I use Moodle a lot. A sub-plan folder, especially with COVID, you never know when you're not going to be here and you're not going to have any notice. Seating charts, assigned passwords and logins. We'll go over this a little more, but you do need to assign them, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. Your check-in and out for the restroom, and to present, to go over with students, I go over all of these things. And I know that you think, well, that takes up a lot of time. It does, but it's so worth it to go over it in the beginning. So there's absolutely no question. So I go over the rules and policies, the calendars and schedules, the safety and classroom procedures, and my expectations. I do use a learning management system. I use Moodle. I also use Pearson. I use Maxon. So there's several different things that I use. Curriculum and projects, and then managing it all. So you've got your CTSOs. For the majority of us, that would be BPA. Some of you may be DECA. Your projects, your parents, administration, and technology. So the first week of school to have prepared, again, your rules and policies, your calendars, schedules, sign in and sign out. So rules and policies, your classroom and technology centers. And for your posted classroom rules, keep it super simple. I literally have 3. You give them a ton, and I don't know if you've experienced this much, but there are days when you can say one sentence and after that, they're done. They're not listening and they're not processing. So I just keep it really simple. Respect ourselves, classmates and environment, cooperate with instructor and classmates, and carry out your responsibilities. I kind of lay it on them. Calendars and schedules, I do give them a schedule that breaks down every single day as to what we are doing, when we are doing it, how we're doing it. This is old, but this just kind of gives you an example. Let me go again. So what I usually do so that I can present it with my students is I have a first week of school PowerPoint for them. And let me see if I can pull that up real quick. If you'll give me a minute, I'll actually kind of show you what I have. And I have these folders that I send to Christy every year. So you can have any of them and make them your own. Let's see. All right. Sorry, I have two screens. Actually, I have three. So I'm trying to find the right thing here. I do one for my tech center off of our student handbook because that has all of our rules and procedures. So let me minimize this and I'll share it with you. Okay, sorry, I had to pull up a different screen. So I do a handbook with everything. This has everything that they need to do. We literally go over this, every single bit of it. And yes, it takes a while to create it the first time, but after that, it's not. Their handbook does have everything in it. So I go through everything, who it is, who does what. I go, when we had AB, which we won't this year, we're going 5 days as of now, full time. But when we had a group A and group B, then I had to really go over those things with them. But I go over everything, absolutely everything contained in that student handbook. And you might say, well, isn't that a waste of time? They can read it themselves. Okay, let's be honest. How many of you think they actually read it themselves? They don't. So that's why I created one to share with them. I also have one for just my classroom that we go over afterwards, and they have to sign forms stating we went over everything. So I go through absolutely everything from our procedures, our breaks, visitors, tardiness, equipment, cell phones, confidentiality, teamwork, literally go over everything with them. Professional excellence, loyalty, responsibility for your own actions, makeup work, and what to do when you're absent, what is required. I go over programs of study for them and certifications. So I go over everything with them and make sure they can log into every site they need to be able to log in, if that's LinkedIn Learning, if it's LearnKey, Jasper Active, Gmetrics, My Moodle, everything. We do it together for the first time. And then I make them sign and date it. And for high schoolers, they got to have a parent signature too. So I print out a copy of this and send it home so their parents can sign it. And this right here, this is a wonderful tool because if they break a rule and they've signed the paperwork, then you know that they are in trouble for the fact that you have signed by them and their parent. They can't come back and go, well, I didn't know. You did know because we went over everything. And if the parent says, well, I wasn't aware of that. Yes, the parent is, because I send a copy of it home and they've signed it too. So this doesn't just cover you in many ways, but it also shows your students you're serious about it. And what I pull out is I pull out this signed form. I pull out this PowerPoint, or for them, the handbook, and where they've signed and said, we did go over this the first week of school, correct? Oh yeah, oh yeah. So it's just something that you can keep in file as well, that just, it really shows to them, yes, I'm serious about this. Lesson plans and subfolder, seating charts, assign passwords and logins and check-ins. So when I do my lessons, they are on Moodle. My Moodle, which I'm going to pull up for you as well. Let me go to the right place. Sorry, I have a lot. Hang on, let me yank this over to my other screen. I do everything sequential for them, and I give them access when they have passed something and get to it. So hang on. Let me pull that up and get it ready to go. Which the first time I go through all of this with them so they know how to get to it. But for like one of the first things, let me find my fundamentals of tech. And right here. Okay, so let me share this screen with you. Okay, so this is what they get to log in, and we log in here first. Everybody has to start unless they're a returning student, which they already know how to do this with computer literacy. I go over everything with them. Everything on here is where they can download or they can upload their work when it is due by. I obviously haven't updated that yet, but that's what I had. Then I go over certification, where they go to do their certification, how they do it, when it's due. I also have a ton of different tutorials down here for them. And I have safety training as well, and an introduce yourself. So this is the first thing they have to complete. Once they pass their certification, then I add to them the next thing that they have to work on. So let's say it's layout and design. So I have everything. Once they pass that, then when they go up and look at their courses, this is the only one they'll have access to. And I have heard before, well, why don't you just give them access to everything? Because unfortunately, even though I give them a plan that shows them what courses they should take first and in what order, they're going to hop all over the place. And then they're going to look at me and say, well, I'm confused. I didn't know where to go. I thought I did this first. I didn't know that. Which again, yes, I might have taught it to them, but there are days that we all know that, you know, after the first 5 minutes, they're not listening anymore. This controls that. You might say, well, that takes a long time. No, it doesn't, because I already have to go through and grade everything and put everything into the grade book on here as well, so they can see their grades. But when I do that and they finish the course and I've recorded their last grade, then I give them access to it for a little bit more. But once I've recorded their certification, then I put them in their next course. I give them usually a week so they can go back to the previous course and look at any of their grades to make sure they have everything done. And then I take it off in a week when I go back through my Moodle. But everything is very sequential, and everything is where they can just click on it and go straight to it. Same way with how they submit their work, but we go over all of this together. Another thing is the subfolder. So when I give them, I make a folder, which actually I'm going to show you. Let me go to, while you can see me here. I keep one like this. I keep one in a shelf by my desk, and I give the office one. Inside it, everything I'm going to show you is inside it, but I literally give them everything. I give them their papers that they can put in. Everything's labeled. I give them lesson plans. I give where you can turn and have the seating charts, helpful students. I have a copy of our emergency procedures for the different things. And because my storage closet is actually our tornado closet, it's all brick. Then I also have a key, which I explain in here for them to be able to get into that if they need to go in for a tornado. So this is just something where I keep it literally, it's in a shelf that I just reached from right here beside my desk. And I make an extra one that I give to the office. So if something comes up and I can't be there for any reason, literally the secretary will just walk it down, either pull it from mine or pull hers out of the file and set it straight over there for the sub. It has everything in it. I do have for you all of that as well. And I will kind of show you a little bit of what I have in there. So let me go back to this, and I'm going to pull that up. Give me just a minute. I'm sorry, there's a lot. So I have where I do this for them. Now, again, this is when I have more than one session. So I put in the group, but you can put in AM or PM, and I put this where they can put everything in and to give to our secretary at the end of the day. So she can enter it into our system. I also place in there, that's my subgroups. Hang on, let me go back up. Seating charts, which you'll have access to these and you can change them however you want. But I have literally listed every student where they sit, and this is the actual layout of my classroom. I have where they're set. I say what grade they're in next to their name and their sending school as well. So they can look at this, and then directly followed behind it, I have, Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, I have a lot of folders here. Well, I have their attendance forms as well. I also do a form like this at the beginning of the year so that I can put in for every student I'm going to have, who ends up in math I can highlight, who's all day I can highlight. I put in my total number of students, their first, last name, grade, their cell phone number, theirs, not their parents, in case I need to send them a remind message. For us, I know last year with us doing a hybrid, we checked out iMac computers to them. So if they needed a computer, then I would mark that down. So I had a list. If they needed a hotspot, we provided mobile hotspots for them. I'm in a very, very rural area. And I actually have students who live on an Indian reservation here, quite a few, and they do not have Wi-Fi. You might think, oh, that's typical. I have several that don't even have a cell phone. So this tells me who has what. Math, this is their handbook forms. Those are the forms at the end of the handbook. After I go over that PowerPoint with them, I make them sign that are due to our office. The VC is my visual communications handbook that they have to sign, and I showed you that form. Safety test, and I mark who's got what done. BPA code of conduct and shirt size. Here's why you think, why would I need their shirt size? Oh my gosh, you need it for a ton of things. If you do BPA, if you go to state and you purchase shirts for them, then you'll want their shirt size. I know my campus, we give out shirts to all of our students. So I'm going to have a counselor come and ask me, do you know the shirt sizes? This is where I can literally just pull over the tab to their name, print it out, and give it to them. And then it saves me a lot of time and headache as well as them. So you'll have access to this form as well. And like I said, you can make it your own. You don't have to have it, but I like to be organized because I have a lot of different career majors I teach. The seating charts, I showed you how that works. I do assign passwords. So on this student contact, I also include, which you can do it on a different form. You could do it on this form. I actually usually do it on my AM and my PM now that it's back to AM and PM instead of group A, AM, group B, PM. But I put in passwords as well. Here's why I assign them. Again, students aren't always paying attention the best. And I know myself, I've forgotten something before. You would be amazed, even if they've used it for a month, they'll come in and be a total blank. I don't know how to get logged in. Well, the way our system is set up, for me to change their password, I have to get a hold of our IT specialist. So if I don't get a hold of them immediately, then my student is stuck twiddling their thumbs. Not a good thing. They can't save their work to their InDrive, which is their network drive. I do also make them save everything to a Google Drive. So if this does happen, they can log in as just a generic password and get to their work. But if you assign it, then they won't forget, and especially where I'm at, because they have Moodle logins, they have LinkedIn Learning, they have Gmetrics, ACU, they have Certiport, they have Maxon, they have all these logins. So what I try and do is give them the same login for everything. Then when they have to actually update their computer login, it will be the only thing that they'll have to write down. And I actually give them a form for that so that they do not forget it. So I give them this. Let me show you that. Okay, actually you are seeing it. I give them this at the beginning of the year. I tell them what their logins are, what mine is. I give them every single link where they can just click on it. I email it to them after we get them set up, but they also get a handout. I put down every site, what their login is, what their email is, how to do it. We provide for them Microsoft Office 365. They get to download that to 3 devices. They don't have to download it in our lab, but when they first log in, they log into this and they have access to all of theirs. Same with Adobe, we provide that for them as well. I literally give them everything. I give them everything to click, how to save their assignments. And not only do I give them this, we go over this whole thing. I give them our shared Google Drive and our OneNote class notebook, how to access the InDrive, which is our network drive to save their information, how to create folders, which you would be amazed. You think, oh, why do you have to teach them that? Now, there are plenty that do not have any idea how to do it. They're great at gaming, but not actual computer applications, how to save to their network drive, how to access Moodle. And while I go over this, we go over it, we do it together. I literally make everybody get to that screen and I check everybody's there. I make everybody log in and make sure everybody can log in. And again, you're going to think to yourself, that's going to take so much time. My first 2 weeks, I know I'm investing a lot of time in all of these things I am teaching them. But the reason is, after the first 2 weeks, I very rarely have to reteach the procedures, how to get into where they need to go, how to do everything with them, because we did it all together. We talk about printing. I even give them which printer to use because I have multiple ones, how to do their practice test, how to use a snipping tool. It's one of the first things we do is we put one of those on our taskbar so they learn how to do that. I talk about our one notebook, which it isn't on here because I was actually updating it because I'll have a new one for this year, but I put everything on there and you think, oh my gosh, that takes forever. It might take forever, but when we go through all of this together, that's hands-on, one-on-one with me, with all of them, and I literally walk around and make sure everybody is logged in, then I know that they can get where they have to. And once we do something, then after a break, we'll come back and I'll say, okay, on your own, I want you to pull up your Moodle, log into it, pull up your email, log into it, send me an email. And then I check that they can do that without me basically spoon feeding it to them. For the restroom, my students, when they get here from the bus, they know, or if they're dropped off or drive, they go to the restroom before they enter my classroom. Once they're in, there are emergencies, or especially with females, you're going to have that a little more often at certain times that they need to go to the restroom. Instead of interrupting my class by raising their hand and going, I need to go, I need to go, I need to go, because I could be in the back room teaching a piece of machinery to a student. I could be, with who knows what, but this way I treat them like adults until they make it where I can't. So they literally walk over, there is a clock right in front of this. They write down the date, their name, their time out, and their time in. And you think, why do you have them do that? Are you really that, controlling? It's not about that. I actually had a student my third year here who hadn't been back for a while, and I went into the restroom and she had had a seizure. So it's not just protecting you, it's protecting your students. And if anything comes up, you have a lockdown, they need to find out where a student is. If they're not sitting where they're supposed to, which you have a seating chart, it makes it fast, then I go over and look if they're in the restroom, how long they've been in there, and I know that's where they are. And it's completely quiet. They just quietly get up, and my rule is one at a time. So if there's already a female signed out that hasn't signed back in, please wait until they get back. I've had it where they've had medication. They just tell me I'm going to need to go a little more. And I get that. And I'm good with that. It's all about communicating. So I have these where you can go in and do them yourself. And I literally have them on a clipboard over where the students can just walk over. I have a clock with the date digitally and the time where they can sign in and sign out. And again, you will have access to all of this. Let's see. Calendars and schedules, safety classroom procedures and expectations. So one of the things that we do here, which I'm sure most of you probably do, is the school calendar. So I already have in a folder for them a copy of our school calendar. Now, to you and me, this might seem very simple to read. You would be amazed how even the color coding does not work for students. So again, when I'm going over everything with them, I do go over this. I tell them, this is the day we're out. This is the time that, we're out for Labor Day. You don't come to school on this day. This is the end of your first quarter. That means I will be giving you, a grade report for that 9 weeks. When we talk about attendance, I mean, everything is on here. And like when it has professional days, no class, and they'll be like, what's a professional day? I go, it doesn't matter. You don't have class. I will be here, but you will not. So I go over snow days and they're like, that means we don't have school. And I'm like, it means tentatively we don't have school. It means if we have to make up a snow day, that might be the day we do it. And if so, I'll let you know in advance. So all of these things, I go over absolutely everything with them. It helps them understand attendance. And even when I break it down here, it shows them how many days in each one. And I tell them how many days they are able to miss before they get in trouble. So we go over all of this. And again, you might think, oh, this just takes forever. Yes, it does. But it's very, very worth it. Safety. This is one of the first things that career tech requires from you. And it's something that you need to go over right off the bat with your students. So we go over everything. We talk about everything in our classroom. We go over what they should and shouldn't do. And you think some of this is just common sense. Again, common sense is no longer common. You would think that they would know some things, but this just covers you in case they don't. Those who get it, get it. Those who don't are like, oh, I didn't know that. So even like here, when we talk about your workstation, my students have 2 keyboards that can adjust up and down. They have adjustable chairs that can go up and down, swivel, lean back, armrests that go up and down. There's a ton of different things that they can do. So we talk about that because they don't know they can do all of that. We talk about electrical safety, fire drills. Not only do I talk about this with them, but I actually take them through what would happen when we do a fire drill, because we will have a practice within, I want to say the first 2 weeks of school for our school has to do one. Tornado drills, I will literally take them into that closet and show them where they go. Lockout, we do talk about the lockout and how we just basically you're locked in your classroom. And then we talk about the difference between a lockout and intruder on campus. I talk to them about this, but we don't actually go through that very first scenario until we have our first intruder on campus drill. And actually, when we do that for a campus as whole, they make it like it's real. Our police chief comes in, he actually shoots blanks so they can hear a gun firing, and we go through the whole scenario. And you think, why would you do that? You're going to scare them. No, we're preparing them. There's a difference. And then we review, we go over everything. And then as soon as I'm done with this, because it shouldn't be guesswork, they need to know the answers. I also give them all a copy of this and I provide it on my Moodle. Then we take the safety test, which let me find that. I might not have it in this group. I think I just have my PowerPoint. Let me see. Oh, there it is. There's my safety exam. That's when I had, again, group A or B, and I had A and PM or all day. So you can change all of this, but this is literally what is required from career tech. We have to do this. This is part of your requirements. And you think, but it's silly. No, it's really not. You'd be amazed at how much students don't know, don't understand, even about their own workstation. So this is just something that you have to do, and you do keep it. I just put them all in a file. I actually already have them hole punched and stick them in a file. So if anything happens, and especially those of you doing a 5-year exam and they want to see it, I can pull it out and you can see every single one of the students, their session, and that it's all in there for them, which covers yourself as well. Let's see, let me minimize that. I also give them, and you would think, why would you do that? Because they don't know what bus to get in, because we're all one bus, Northeast Tech. It's not like we have a flashing sign that says we go to J, we go to Locust Grove, we go to Kansas. So again, you think, oh, this is like elementary school. No, this is informing them how our buses line up and which one they need to get in, because they don't know. And I'll be honest, I didn't know either until I went and asked, because a student didn't know. So again, you might think that's elementary. It might be, but you know what? My students know everything they need to know, and there is no questions that I went over it with them. let's see. Expectations, that's in my handbook, and we kind of went over that pretty quickly. So let me go back to this one, and management. So your classroom design and layout, curriculum delivery methods, policy procedures, we already went over all of that. We went over the policy and procedures. By this point, they've already got all of mine. They've gotten all of the Northeast Tech's handbook as well. We do talk about enforcement and rewards. So those are all included in those PowerPoint presentations. Policies and procedures, we're going over the procedures as we go. So for curriculum delivery methods, I have a ton of different ones. I do have all of my books online, everything is online, but I also have, and in that very first one, I think it's this one. If they need a book, I have where they can go to find a book, and it's actually, I have a cabinet and they're all labeled. Like if it is photography, if it is all of Adobe, if it's Microsoft, if it's computer fundamentals. And you think, why would you have an actual hardback book? Well, I don't keep a lot of copies of them. I have a couple of each, but I have found that a lot of my adult students really, really, really want to have that book in hand. So they can go get it during their session here, just to put it back at the end of the day so that if somebody needs it in the afternoon. There are times when I have a student that has been absent, doesn't have very good Wi-Fi, even with our hotspot, and I might send one home with them so that they have it. We do videos, we have audio. I actually had a student that English was her second language, and I would say it was a far second language for her. She definitely was not very well at understanding or speaking it. So on my Moodle, I went through with Google Translate and translated every single thing for her own site where she could click and get to, like if it was layout and design, everything on there for her was already in Spanish, so she could understand it all. And I just used Google Translate to be able to do that. I also got a hold of Gmetrics and Jasper Active, and they actually sent me Spanish video presentations of all of their curriculum as well. So that's also something, if you have IEPs, individual education plans for students, and reading's an issue or a different language, there's a lot of ways that are really easy right now to be able to make those adjustments for them. And I try and make sure everything's there. So they get more than one mode. They have hands-on, they have video, they have audio, they also have visual. I try and give them literally every way I can think of to get it into them. And we do not do worksheets. We do actual projects, because I don't know how a worksheet would teach them how to use Microsoft Word or Adobe Illustrator. So I give them projects, and I base those projects off of what they need to be able to accomplish when they take their Certiport test, which are nationally accredited. And that's the projects. They don't even know they're learning as they do their project until they go over to take the test. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And then they're like, oh, it was just me doing a project. I'm like, yes. So they know how to do it. We do here at our campus, once a semester, we have a big student appreciation day. On those days, they get t-shirts, we give them chairs, we give them frisbees, sunglasses. We cook for them and provide it all free: hot dogs, hamburgers, chips, desserts, sundaes. We play games, we have volleyball, we have video, we have everything set up. So the whole campus, now we didn't get to do this last year, but the whole campus gets to participate, so they can know students in other areas here and get to spend time with them and other faculty members. And it is something they look forward to. We want them to want to come here. And if we never do anything fun for them, then, you know, it makes it a little harder to keep them here instead of just staying at their sending school all day. So it gives them a chance to do something different and interact. And you get to be different than just the teacher for them. You get to also be a participant with them. We usually rent out rock walls. We've had big blow up things. We've had an actual mechanical bull with the blow up thing around. I mean, we've done all kinds of different things with them, but it's just something fun that they look forward to and want to make sure that they keep their attendance where it should be, their grades where it should be, because they want to participate in that. They want to be able to do those things. Let me see. All right, we're still here. Let's see. Let me go here. Classroom design. So when I first came into my classroom, it was awful. Literally, I had to see these big long cords. If something didn't work for any reason, I had to pull out these cords that went all the way across the classroom and work on that. Plus, on top of it, they did have these big partitions around them, and I couldn't walk in between desks. I literally had to walk all the way around to get to another area. It was horrible. Definitely not very conducive. You can see my cords dropping down. It wasn't overly safe. It was definitely a pain to deal with. So I started all over, and actually I had white dirty walls in here, and I painted it all myself. And then we redid everything. So they have pods with their workstations. The desks have built-in power as well as USB charging ports. So everything is much easier now. And all of this has actually been painted as well and changed, which I need to really update this now that I look at it. But I try to set it up as if it was a business, if they were working at a business. I label everything. This is on the outside of the doors, and then they can go over themselves if they need to get a Band-Aid. I have cleaning supplies. I have all kinds of infection things. We keep tissues. Everything's there for them, basically. Let me see if I can get to my next one. So learning management system, I showed you briefly already, my Moodle. CTSOs, projects, parents, administration, technology. I think everything that you do, the biggest thing to know is we're there for the students. Make it where they can contact you. I know for what I teach, I am a geek, and I'm very proud of that. But other than in my comfort zone, I am pretty quiet. If it's not something that is my interest or my topic or what I teach, then I tend to be quiet. So do my students. They're shy, they're quiet. They don't even want to, if somebody's doing something that bothers them, well, first off, it probably has already bothered me. That like tapping of pencils drives me insane. But they won't always say something to me. I tell them when we go over these classroom procedures, you don't have to say it to me. You can even shoot me an email, and I don't tell them anybody who says anything. I just go over and go, you're kind of bothering me. Can you please stop doing that? Do you know you're doing it? And sometimes they don't even know. They get nervous and they're taking their pencil and they don't get it. And they're like, oh, okay. That way a shy student doesn't have to feel like she has to draw attention to herself. They think that they're tattling. They're just letting me know that they're having a hard time concentrating because of something that another student's doing. So they never know who said it, and it makes it easy, and it really opens your door where a student can feel like they can tell you anything, even if it's email. And there may be times when they do that, and I may say, you know, so-and-so had sent me an email, they're upset, they have something going on. I'm like, why don't you come back in the back room and help me with this machine? I'm going to teach you something on it. And they're like, okay, well, that's not it at all. I just shut the door and talk to them quietly, but nobody has to know that we're actually in there talking about something personal that they're upset about or going through. They just think they're learning something new on a machine. Because to me, confidentiality doesn't mean just what stays in your classroom stays in your classroom. If you want to earn that trust and respect of your student, it also needs to stay between you and them. They need to be able to know that you're somebody they can go to. And I'm not going to lie, there's been times when something's made me really uncomfortable to talk about. And I literally did the same thing, but pulled them back and said, I'm not super knowledgeable about this subject and even overly comfortable. Can I bring in our counselor? And she'll just come back here and I'll sit back here, or I'll go out of here and she'll talk to you, or you can go down and talk to her. And they've been like, okay, that's fine. Especially sometimes when I'm dealing with a male, sometimes something they want to talk about, I'm not overly confident to do on my own. I will include even our director. He's really good about it too, and just say, you know, he's a male, he's going to relate better, and always talk to them about it first. But that relationship that you form with them, if you know that student well, and you will get to know them well, and you spend time, you'd be amazed about what they will do for you. They will perform above what they even think they are capable of, because they want to do it for you, because you guys have a good relationship. Same way with parents. I send out emails every Monday to my students that has their grades listed on it until they're, you know, any age. But if they're below 18, I give them the option, do you want me to carbon copy it to your parents? I have had some say yes, I've had some say no, and I don't do it. But if a parent does ask me and they're under 18, you know, how's my child doing? What is their grade? Are they doing their work? I will just shoot it to them, and then there's no questions. They know that's what goes to their student. I also contact all of my parents, if possible, at the beginning of the year, to tell them kind of the same thing, what we do, how our procedures work, ask them if they have any questions. I send out an email, just open that line for communication. And I don't always contact my parents for something that's been a bad situation, unless it's something pretty bad and I need to, and I really haven't had any of those. But sometimes just to say, hey, your child did this and it was such an awesome job. I just wanted to let you know how proud I am of what they have done. That will go so far with not just the parent, but your student, to know that you care enough to let the parent know they did something that you thought was amazing. Because then the parent, instead of thinking, oh no, she only contacts me when it's something bad. It might be an email I shoot. Oh no, what did they do this time? She'll think, okay, this is great. It won't think, oh, I don't want to open this. I don't want to know what it is because it could be bad. Then they'll think, well, you know, he's doing great. Or, oh, she was, you know, reminding me that they have this coming up. Things like that, especially when we do BPA things. I send home forms that have to be signed. I give them a copy back, but most of them don't make it home with parents. I shoot them everything, including an agenda, by email. But a lot of times I have students tell me, and I'm going to say it's my mails a lot, can you shoot this to my mom's email too, because I forget? And I'm like, yes. And I'll send it to them, because I even give them suggestions for what you should pack. Let's see. BPA, recruitment, office campaigns and training, program of work, meetings, competition, and the leadership conference. So with BPA, my organization pays for every single one of my students to be a member. So they're already a member, but I do ask each one of them how much they want to participate. Are you willing to try and participate in this, this, or this? Would you like to compete? These are the things I ask them right off the bat, just so I can know which ones are really more interested than others. And you'd be amazed after you do a few activities with them, how many more want to participate. Recruitment, I really leave that up to, and when I say recruitment, because we already pay for them and they're all in it, it's more of a recruiting them to actually participate and be, you know, members who want to do our community service projects, who want and are going to compete. So my students do that, and my officers. And one of my officer requirements is that my president always had to have been an officer the year before. So every year I make sure that I have at least some of my 11th graders that are officers. That way they can come in and have an option to be a president. They're the ones who sell it for you. Let them tell about their experiences. Maybe not from last year. Last year was, you know, different all the way around, but for the most part, they're my biggest. I don't have to do the recruiting. The students do it. Program of work we do, which I'm sure you guys have already went all over all of this with your BPA. We make it pretty simple. I really give most of the power to my officers. I let them be the ones who really do most of it. I just give them a binder and I give them everything digitally. So, membership. I'm going to kind of share this with you really quick. So what I give to my students is we have a Google Drive. I even have my emails to them. There's like our program of work, which is one of those I give to them, and they all sit down. And our first meeting, they brainstorm first, and I meet with my officers so they fully understand how this works. And then they accomplish this, their first meeting of BPA with all the other members. I also, let's see. For my secretary, she gets this on Google Drive, and I already have agendas so she can see how those minutes worked. So she can pull them up and see exactly how they were typed up. She can just alter it, make it her own. I do the same with the meeting minutes, so they can just pull one up. Sign-in sheets where she can just pull it up, and the students can all just sign in however they need to sign in. She has a list of all of them. Let me go back up one more. Who all the members are. I have a list for them so they know, especially the ones who want to participate. My reporter, same way, gives them an option of how they're going to do their newsletters. So they have everything that they need to have. I also have an officer packet. So this is what I do for all of them that want to participate. They have to fill this out, all of it. It tells them I only do these officers. I don't do post-secondary and secondary. I combine them all together. I don't have a lot of adults. So if they want to participate, I've had them be a officer before too, but I don't do it separate. And that's just more to have to keep track of. I just do it with one. I tell them all the things that we have to go through. Their parents have to sign off if they are under 18. And they have to turn all this in and create some kind of presentation that they do in front of the students beforehand. I also give them everything basically. So to prove that they want to be in, that's one of the things I make them do. If they can fill all that out, have their presentation ready, then they're going to be able to be one of my officers because they're going to put in the work. If not, then there's no point. I'm sure, like I said, they probably went over all of your competition, but if you're a first year to BPA, first year being a sponsor for that, definitely do your leadership conference. Not only does it teach your students, it teaches you. It teaches you the things you need to know. I went to the leadership conference, and when I first started, they didn't actually do any kind of training at all for the instructor. So I learned from my students. I learned what I needed to do, how to do it. I went to their meetings with them. One time I would go to the president's meeting, the next time I go to the reporters and see all the things I needed to do with them. They taught me a lot. And don't be afraid to ask. I would ask other teachers, other advisors, how do you do this? I don't know what this means. How do you read this? How do you go through this? And career tech. You can always ask. I know Christy is my go-to person, and I also get a hold of Carrie. Believe it or not, they will respond. And I will tell you, Paxton is in charge of BPA. She does a fantastic job, and she really does get back to you very, very quick and always responds to you. Especially last year, we were navigating a whole different kind of way of competition and presentations. And there are glitches along the way, as with anything, but she was on top of it the whole time. And don't think that any question is a dumb question, because I probably already asked them when I first started because I was clueless as to how to be their sponsor. I had no idea. I'd never done it before, even though I've been teaching for 23 years. That wasn't something I'd ever done. So I learned from my students my first couple of years, and I relied heavily on the BPA state sponsor that we get a hold of, or advisor, and as well as the career tech faculty that you have access to. Do not be afraid to ask them. I will tell you on my meetings, something that I didn't know, because we'd have a meeting. I don't do that until my officers are elected and I have had my first officer meeting with my officers. That way they're the ones in charge of it. They're the ones who run those meetings. They're the ones who have to turn in, you know, all of their reports of what they went over. They have to give me an agenda and I approve it before it gets sent out. I have to see that they're all working together and doing a good job. And you would just be amazed. I'm amazed. Sometimes I don't even know what's going on. I have to ask the president, where is this folder at? Because they know, they're the ones who saved it. And giving them that kind of leadership, it's something that stays with them. It makes them realize they're super capable. They can do this, and not just BPA, but in all aspects. Let's see. Project-based learning. So I'm big on project-based learning. Students get a voice and a choice. This is something that you think, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is when I have them do a Photoshop project, I tell them what I'm grading. It might be masked layers. I might need at least 4 layers, 2 masks, a hidden mask. I mean, those are what I want to grade. What the topic or subject is, I don't care. That is something that you think, oh, well, that'd be awesome. No, it's not always awesome, because when you get those students that have been spoon-fed and told this is the topic you're going to do it over, they're like, well, what's my topic? I'm like, well, I don't know. What are you picking? What do you mean? What am I picking? And I'm like, it's your choice. I don't understand. And I'm like, what is something you like? You can pick it, you know, pick a photo that you like and do the editing that way. As long as it's school appropriate, doesn't have any kind of drugs or alcohol, I'm good with it. And they're like, you mean I get to pick what I like? You can't just tell me. And I'm like, well, I can tell you, but I don't want to grade 15 things over a muscle car because I had to tell you all what to do. I'm like, I get a little bored myself when I'm grading these projects, but when it's something you're interested in, then I learn about you as I grade it. Everybody's different, everybody's unique, and I learn about you as well as your project. And they're like, oh. And in the beginning, you really have to help them. They don't even know how to choose it themselves because they've never been able to do that. By, I don't know, probably the first 2 months, then they're like, oh, I know what I'm going to pick for my next topic. They get excited about it. Oh, let me go back. Hang on. Just 1 second. I'm going to go back. Sorry. I have to pull that back up. All right. I did it again. Dadgum. Let me go back. All right. Sorry, I have multiple screens and it wants to just give it to all of them. All right, now I've got it going. All right. There we go. So as I go through these things with them, it's giving them the skills that they need to be able to think on their own. And you might think, oh, they can already do that. No, they can't always do that. And that is some of the things they need to be able to do. And for the fact that I'm not training all of them to be able to just go on to college, meaning it's for a job, I have to be able to teach them to do a little bit of self-evaluation, as well as being able to find an answer. They're not always going to have a book, and I try and teach them to figure out how to do that themselves. I do go through projects. Here's a bunch of examples that I have for them. I know we're out of time. I'm sorry. I believe, is it 10:20? Oh, it's 10:55. So we have more time. Okay, good deal.
I'll let you know when there's 5 minutes. Okay, Krista?
Awesome.
Okay.
I have one of the projects that I do with my students, and I did it for the first time last year, and I actually loved it. Let me see. Let me go back up. Sorry. I'm on a different screen now. So just a second. I did last year for the first time. I have a lot of different, I'm really big about not just creating a project from concept, but all the way through production, because in my opinion, you learn a lot when you have to actually produce something. So I made a project that, oops, I better turn my phone down. I made a project where, and this is one of the first things I do at the beginning of the year, and I do it with all of my students. So what it does is it gives them the option of finding any piece of project, machinery I have in here. I call it Miller's Machines. So we do it through our OneNote. So I let them pick out the equipment that they want to do. So a lot of them pick, they may pick a Canon Rebel T2 or T3. They may pick my laser cutter. They may pick my direct to garment, but basically they have to research on it. I give them the handbooks that go along with that, and they can go through all of that. They have to develop a how-to lesson that will help other students learn the equipment. They have to teach how to use it. Can't be longer than 10 minutes. Some of my examples, as you can see here, it says if it's more complicated, they can just do like how to use different camera modes or how to set the white balance manually and automatically. So it's not like everything that they'd have to learn on that. They can pick the thing they would like to teach. I've got where they drop it in, the assignment section, how they do it. On this page, you must paste a photo of your chosen equipment. Must be exact. Take one with your phone. Or I have iPads in here that I let them use because I have a lot of students that don't have a phone. And then I put your notebook page to list all of the following: their name, name of equipment, manufacturer, model, serial number. Do you know how much this helps me when I have to do my inventory? So it's not just for the students, it's also for you because you learn about the equipment. I have a ton of different equipment. And I'm pretty good with most of it, but especially when I get a bunch of new things, which last year I had a bunch of new things and I didn't even have time to know how to operate it all myself. But I learned from my students doing this. So not only does it help you, it helps your inventory. It helps your students think, okay, so I want to learn how to get in this program so I can learn this piece of equipment because Mrs. Miller said I have to learn this, this, and this before I get to use this piece of equipment. They love it. It's their favorite thing. And then I do dates of when they're going to do it. I give them a grading rubric, how I give them their points, and their overall grade, if they got a bonus or not, if I give them anything for bonus, like how they were dressed, if they dress professionally or something like that. I tell them what I would give them bonus points for. So everything's there. This is actually online where they can click on it on Moodle, and it actually has where they can just click and go to my OneNote. Now I have to update that for this year because I'll have a different URL, but this is one of the first assignments that I gave them. And it not only gets them to know others, but kind of gets them where they're excited about the things they can learn in their program, the equipment they're going to get to learn how to use, and all the equipment we actually have available because they're clueless. They don't know. I don't even know if my director knows. He just puts the money in my account. So this actually makes it where they can learn all the different things we can do. And it's something that they love to do. Another thing is industry partners. So I have a really good relationship with a lot of different industry partners, and actually some of them are all the way in Tulsa. But because of being able to do so much online, they actually have my students design things for them and actually get on the job training while they're in my classroom doing it online. And how that works is the industry partner will contact me. I will then pick a student, say, here's what they need. It is for a customer. Create what you have. Show me what you create. Send it to me. And then I'm going to send it back to them. Then once that relationship gets established with that industry partner, I just start forwarding the emails back and forth so that, yes, I can monitor it. And it is our school email that we assign to them. But it teaches them, like when the industry partner comes back and go, well, our customer would like you to make these changes. It teaches them that you might have something in your head that you love, but you're there to do that or create that so that it's what the customer loves. So this really gives them a lot of interaction, and the industry partners love it because they're not paying for this and they're getting free, basically logos, designs, or creations for wall wraps or whatever from the students. But they also love that they can come to me and say, hey, I have a job opening. Do you have someone in mind? And that for me is a huge win, because if I've got a student, I can be like, hey, they have a job. Would you like to fill out an application? They're taking a recommendation. Let me include a letter with it. And that helps me get that job for that student too. And actually I'm going to say probably 99% of my on-the-job training students, the minute the place they trained at gets an opening, they get hired. That is a win for everybody. So really connecting with those industry partners, that's really a good thing. Again, I talked about parents. Keep them in the loop. Let them know, hey, your student just did this for our industry partner. I don't know if you know it, but they just designed the logo for this company. Ask them about it. Let them talk to you about it. Maybe they'll pull it up and show it to you because, again, I make them use their Google Drive for a lot. And then administration. My administration is super supportive. They're great. My actual campus director, he's fantastic. He'll come in a lot of times when my students are doing the Miller's machines, just so he can see what we have in here as well and learn some of the things we can produce and accomplish. And he thinks it's fantastic. And my students love that he cares enough to come in. Sometimes they get a little nervous, but I'm like, just pretend like he's not here. I do it all the time. And they giggle and then they'll do fine with it. Let me see. Okay, questions or comments. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. I will definitely try and answer anything I can. All of the forms that I have, everything that I showed you, I actually will be given to Christy and she'll upload because some of it's a little different. And you guys can have access to it. Anything you want to change, feel free, make it your own. It's not about inventing the wheel. And I will tell you the first year, especially if you're a first year career tech and a first year teacher, it gets a little overwhelming and you think, oh my gosh, what did I do? Once you make it, just keep swimming until you hit December. When you come back in January, I promise you'll have a whole new outlook. You'll be like, okay, I got this. This is not so bad. But you're learning a lot right now. And I know these last couple of days, you've got a lot thrown at you. I mean, a lot. I sat there too, 11 years ago. So, except I had a week of training. It's a lot of information to take in, but I will tell you that my email is available. If you have anything that you have a question about or you need help with, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm pretty good about responding to those. Once August 1st hits, especially, I'm pretty good about it. If I haven't responded, let Carrie or somebody know. Unfortunately, sometimes my company's email does a little filtering. And if you're using a home or personal email and it doesn't have your school like edu or something, it will stick you in my spam. And then if you let Carrie or Christy know and they'll be like, hey, so-and-so tried to contact you, I can go through my spam folder because I don't always go through it and find the information that you need. And I am more than willing to share anything I can. I think the thing that you need to wrap your head around is we're all here for the same purpose. We're here to educate and train our students to be the best they can in the workforce, in college, in whatever endeavor they're wanting to do. And that doesn't mean to say, well, I can do this better than you. It's sharing. It's about sharing and helping others out. And I'm always willing to do that. So if there's anything that you need or that you have a question about, I may not know the answer. But I can help you find the answer. But if it's something that I already have created or I've already done, then I am definitely more than willing to share that with you.
Hey, Crystal.
Yes.
So, all of these are technology center teachers, and many of them are managing multiple programs, within their area. So they may have 3, 4, 5, 10 different state program areas that they're managing. Can you provide some tips? How do you manage all those different pathways that they're doing?
Well, and it is one of the things that I struggled with in the very beginning, because I was like, how do I do all of this together? Well, one of the things that I do is I go over all of it with them. But when I showed you all my, let me go back. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to pull something up and it's not doing it. When I do my Moodle, that's where in the beginning, I direct teach everything those first couple of weeks because they definitely need to learn, like I said, the procedures, the rules, how we get into everything. But after that, everybody has their own career majors. I explain those career majors to my students because they don't always know what that means. So when I say that, I have a form, which I'm going to put over here where you guys can see it, and I'm going to share it real quick. I go over this with my students. So then I can sit down with them and we can choose exactly what career major. But before I do it, I pull them in one-on-one, but I explain in motion graphics artist, here is what you are going to learn. In 3D animation, we're going to go into Maxon, or we're going to do Cinema 4D. These are the programs, because this right here, when students look at this, they're like, I don't even know what that means. And I can say in administrative technologies too, you're going to learn Microsoft Access and Microsoft PowerPoint. I tell them everything that they're going to learn in each one of these. And I give them each one of these are all the ones I teach right now. So I have what? Yeah, I have 7. The different ones I have. Again, just on your Moodle, or for me, on my Moodle, I already have everything online. That first year, trust me, I was in here the entire month of July trying to find everything and upload it. Don't try and do it for the whole year, because if you're new at this, you may not have access to that, but try and get the first week. Then as you get through your first week, you're working on your second week and you'll get ahead. Like I said, by the time you get Christmas, you'll get ahead. I know that when we get new teachers at my technology, they share my Moodle with all of those teachers. And like if they're in BMITE, they get what I've already created and they share it with them where they can just alter it. So they have at least a blueprint to start with. And your school may have the exact same thing. They may already have that. Let me pull up my Moodle and pull that up. Hang on. I'm going to try and pull that over here. All right. So my courses, like I said, I have everything. There's my layout and design. So those are your sub courses, my fundamentals of technology, my multimedia and image management techniques. So everything that they click on, it's already all there. And so my students, as we go through our procedure, they learn that when they come in, they put in their earbuds, they sit down, they log in, they check their email, because that's a big way that I communicate with them, because we are in a business classroom. Even if you're just teaching graphics or IT, they need to know how to work email. So I send tons through email. It's actually the #1. Microsoft Outlook is actually the #1 Microsoft program used. So I want them to be good at that, even if they're only learning graphics. So they come in, they check their email, and they log into Moodle. And then they know what they have and have not created and what they are working on. So the next procedure they are taught is my students set in pods of 4. If you don't understand a direction, you're not getting it, quietly ask the person next to you, especially I try to make mine when I seat them together where I have some of my returning students with my new students. So at every pod, there'll be 2 new students and 2 returning students. And I say, these are returning students, ask them what what you need to do. And if they can't get it, then you come to me. Just like if you're at work, you're going to probably ask a coworker before you go straight to your boss and say, I don't understand this. So it's teaching them those life skills and how to function even in a business atmosphere, where you're going to have to learn how to find some of the answers yourself. I also refer them to Google a lot because I go there myself, and YouTube. I provide lots of videos, and a lot of times they are YouTube, things like that. So if they're not getting something, that's the technique. Now, my rule is you can ask them and they can talk you through, this is how you do it. You're going to click on this toolbar, but they don't ever get to touch their computer. Because if they touch their computer, they're not getting assistance. Somebody's doing their work. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, so let me ask you this. And this is a scenario that actually students get, because they're like, they're not really doing my work. I'm like, if we're driving a car and you're learning to drive the car, if somebody jumps in the driver's seat and does the driving and drives through, did they just do that work, or did you? Oh, well, I guess they did it. I'm like, yeah. So you're going to remember it more when they're the ones sitting in the driver's seat, or if you're the one with your hand on the mouse pad and the keyboard doing what they're talking you through. Oh, I'm like, yes. I also teach them notes, because you would be amazed how many times students ask the same thing over and over, because they'll just do what they tell them, but not really pay attention. And I'm like, you can ask them once. And once they've talked you through that, don't ask them for the same thing again. Try it yourself right after they talk you through it by yourself. If you need to, because I do, write your steps down. If I have to go to our IT director and he's talking me through something on our network, I write it down. And they're like, okay. I'm like, or pull up Microsoft Word and type it. And my students type their notes a lot as well. They'll do the same thing. They'll pull it up and type it. So if you can already have in place at least your first, again, the first things that you go through are those procedures. All of that I went through, that takes me 2 weeks to accomplish with my students. That's what we work on every day. And I actually tell my all-day students, if they're not a returning student, pick AM or PM, because we're doing the same thing, because I'm teaching them the same thing. And they will come either in the AM or the PM. Or I have had students who's like, well, I ride the bus, so I'm just going to stay all day, or I have a ride. I'm like, that's fine. You can work on, your machine project or something like that, because we do go over all of that the first week. Then the first thing that they're going to learn is the fundamentals of tech. So if you can get that done, let me find mine. So if you can get the fundamentals of tech at least up and running, and I know that I stepped in while Christy and I believe Paxton and Carrie were showing you guys all the resources, the study guides, and everything from fundamentals of tech. That's where you can go. I mean, literally, this is what they have to take a test over. I've got it where they can open it. And I've got, let me pull this one back over there. All the things they have to learn. And I also provided for each one of them a location where they can click and get the information over each single topic that they need to go over. And it was something that we got really right before school started last year. I mean, we might have gotten this first week of August. It was pretty late because they just got through updating it. So I literally did this and had them do each one where they had to take notes. And that's when their notes were due. They just typed them and they would put their notes up on here for me. And that way I let them actually print out their notes and study them. And what we did flashcards and things like that before, like online flashcards, before they took their test, and all of my students passed it. But you might think, well, that's kind of boring. It is a little boring, but so is fundamentals of technology. They want you to know a lot of stuff that they really have fixed a lot of it. I'm going to have to say it's way, way better. There's only like 22 things. There used to be like 55 competencies that they wanted them to know or something like that. And now it's nowhere near that. So it is much more streamlined, much better than what it was, and also updated as far as, we're not talking about floppy disks and things like that anymore. So it really is much more up to date and a lot better. Like cloud computing, it wasn't even included, none of that. So it's really been updated and it is streamlined, but these are all kind of basic things. But you might have a student like on Duty K, hands-on spreadsheet activities. They're like, I have no desire to learn that. I am doing graphics. They might not have a desire, but to pass fundamentals of tech, you're going to have to know some basics. So this gives you an idea so that even if you are in a business and you're only doing graphics, they might ask you to do a spreadsheet and put in it your budget or something like that. So they just have a basic knowledge. And that's all this is giving them, is a basic knowledge of these things. So it was something pretty simple. I put it up there and this is what they did last year. Now this year that's changing, but it was something fast and quick because like I said, I didn't want to teach them the old one because I already knew how horrible that was, as far as there's just way too much they expected them to know. And a lot of it was very outdated. So this is what they did. And they actually learned a lot. You'd be amazed. Some would put a little bit of notes. And I'm like, here's the thing. When I read that note, I'm going to have to be able to understand that whatever it is you're trying to tell me. You can't put down, you open up Excel and that works for everything on spreadsheet. That's not going to work as your note. I'm like, you need to put a little more in depth on that. And like I said, I provided them videos of everything where they could get their own, or they could open what I gave them and literally click on any of these for each one. And some of them I have multiple things that they could click on, but I tried to give them at least one site that gave them really good information on each individual thing. So emails, you can see calendar, internet, I tried to hit all of them where they could just click and get the information. They're all short little videos. You can do that with a lot of different things, depending on what you teach with, the programs, and a lot of that's going to be something that you're going to have to ask too. Like I know when you come into Northeast Tech now, you have, we order Pearson, and depending on what your career majors are, depends on what you have access to. So you may have some Adobe, you may have some Microsoft, you may have some app development, you may have some CAD. It really just depends, but we already have programs in place that it's already online. And literally when that happens, you talk them through how to do it. And I already go through it with them and make sure they log in, but I literally have where they can click, how to log in, click on courses, start a new course, make sure it's Photoshop, click on your project file. I mean, I have everything, but that right there, you might think that's a lot. That's really, that took me maybe 15, 20 minutes to go through with them, because I go through it myself and make sure that I'm telling them step by step how to get through it. And then I make it where they can upload all of their work. So literally, even if you can just have a week worth done, that's idealistic. And on most of your courses, like I said, with new students, they're going to start with fundamentals of tech. If you have your returning students, you can look at where they're at. And when I say that, I give my students a plan as well. Let me open that up. Give me just a second. I haven't uploaded it for this year yet, but I'll just show you one of mine from last year's. Yes, I have a lot. So let's say it's administrative assistant. So I have plans and they each have their name, but basically these are the different tests that they can take. This or this. I also do listening skills as my very first test so that they understand it. And I also know how well they are with auditory. Then I've got everything that they have to pass. I make mine do the Talent Central. It's almost like a pre-test before they do the cert report. So that's how I have everything set up. So if you look, and last year they had already completed their Excel certification, then you know, okay, so I need at least 1 week's worth of lessons for my Fundamentals of Administrative Technologies 2 for PowerPoint. That's the next thing they're going to be working on. That is how you prepare. And then go from there. And I do have all of these plans that I have that I'm more than willing to share too, if you'd like. I have it for each career major that I do teach. So I have like my animators, and then I can just give you like the blank one. These are the things that they learn with and that they are taught. And it's also aligned with career techs, what they require when they were talking about your testing. And remember, those have study guides and all of that too. So I have it for everything of what they are learning. And then I also make, like, as I go through and record grades, I do this, what they've passed, because that doesn't give a grade, but it gives their name. And I can give that to my secretary and she enters it all in for when they want to know what certifications they have earned, because a lot of our sending schools want to know exactly what certifications. And it's not like welding where I can say, well, they passed the, you know, their Spark welding certification. No, I've got a bunch for each career major, which you do too. So this just kind of streamlines it for them and for you. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Like I said, that was the hardest part for me, was how do I get them all to get it all at the same time? Well, you're not always going to be direct teaching. That's what you got to remember. And when I say that, after my first 2 weeks, I do a lot of group teaching where I may have several that are at one point in access and they are struggling. And so I take that group together and we go over and sit down and they pull up their laptops, which we provide for them too if they need them, or iPads, and we go over it as a group, the part I see that they're struggling with. Or if I'm teaching a new post-production machine, I may have 4 students are all ready to learn it right now. So I bring them all over together. We do it as a group together. And actually, something that I do for that as well is, let me go to, I have a lot. I have my own server, just so you guys know, because I have a lot of stuff. Let's see. I don't think that's it. Here we go. I have their manuals there that I give them as well. Follow up, as you can see, I keep a lot of stuff, just so you guys know. Where did I put that? Ooh, it might be up here. I don't know. I have to look.
Yeah, Crystal shares so many of her resources that it's hard to even upload them all. It's like we have to have
I have to send a shared drive link. So let's see. Oh, so like one of the things that they had to learn about is a 3D printer. So I give them like their first 4 lessons are here, or their second 4. I give them information sheets so they can pull up. Let me minimize this. This is all that they have to do before they can even get on there. I go back with them, what the print head is, where the filament is. I give them everything.
So we're not seeing that. Are you sharing that?
I don't know. I'm going to try. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Yep, I am.
Okay.
There we go. So I give them everything that they need to see and understand. So if I'm talking about FFF, they know what that is. If I'm talking about PLA, TPU, all the different things, they have access to it. Let's see. I give them cards. So this is where they can actually see how application cards, how they would create them with the electrical, how they can create different things with it. They also have like the first lessons. Oh, let me see if I can get that over here. Here we go. So I have it linked where they can go through and it tells them the 3D basic printings. I've got intro, the technologies, design, slicing. Then I've got Tinkercad and Fusion, because they can do that from home instead of using what I use here. And I have several different ones that they use. And I give them projects, tell them where the projects are. And after I train them, that's what they start doing. The first thing is they have to be able to work with loading filament. They have to understand the parts. So these are the kind of different things that I do with them, and we go back and learn together. There we go. Okay, so here's where we do like possible equipments to learn. So we've got cutter machines, and I've got heat press, hat press, drone, the cup press. Then I've got 3D printer. I've got digital cameras, GoPros, the XR3Ds. I got the direct to garment, Google Glasses. These are all things they get to pick from. So I let them pick what they would like. And then I give them these sheets. So when I go over and I teach them, they have to go over and write down what our equipment is. So if they use our cutter, they're going to put down like one of the 2 cutters. So they could put down the Roland cutter. And software using is Vlexi. So when I point that out, I make them write it down. Steps, I make them write this as I go through it the first time with them. And then my students do it by themselves the next day. If they get hung up, then they holler and I go get them back on track. And I look at this page and say, okay, write this step down. You missed this. What did you enjoy about this project? What did you find hard or difficult? Those parts are for me. That's what I learn. This is what they're liking. This is something that maybe I need to show them a little more because they're having a hard time with it. Are you glad you chose this? Are you excited to learn more about this equipment or learn about another piece? What is something you could think could be improved about the assignment? So this is part of what they have to turn in besides whatever it is they produce, but it also is what they keep until they turn it in, because it is where they can take their notes. Once I give them their credit and I've looked at everything, then I give them this back and they can keep it. So let's say they don't get to get on that machine again for a month, but then I tell them to get on there and create something, then they can pull this sheet back out and have their directions to step them through it. It also teaches them how to take good step-by-step notes with directions. That's something a lot do not possess. You might think, well, that's a simple, no, it's not always simple. Some want to write every single word I say, and I'm like, no, don't do that. And some want to write down, something like turn it on. Well, on the Roland, you got to slide your hand all the way down the back and along the side to find the little lever. Some of mine will write slide hand down back on right side, there's a lever. Others will be like, I put turn it on and I don't remember where I turn it on. So they learn from it. And you might think, well, that's something pretty simple. It is, but those are usually the things they struggle on, is the simple things, sadly.
Crystal, you've got about
Yes.
4 minutes to wrap it up.
Okay, that's pretty much it. I do give them at the beginning, like I said, I showed them the sheet. They can list what they want to learn, and then they list their order. So after they've learned one, I go to the next one and to the next one. And a lot of it, this I did last year for the first time, because with us being hybrid, I just felt like I was a drill sergeant, and I was constantly having to say to them, do your work, do your work, do your work. And it was awful for them and for me at that point. I was like, oh, this is not fun. I've always loved coming to work. So this was something that if they kept up with their work, they didn't get behind on their, virtual days, and they were here the 2 days a week they had to come last year, then they got to pick a piece of equipment and I taught it to them, whether it was something they were going to learn in their career major or not, just something they had an interest in. And you would be amazed by doing this. Like several of my administrative assistants, they were like, I think I might want to learn Adobe too. And I'm like, well, there is the career major of Microsoft Office specialist that does Adobe and Microsoft. And they're like, I think I might want to. Well, then they can get 2 career majors. Once they finish all of that Microsoft and pass that administrative assistant, then I can go ahead and put them in the Office Information Specialist. And we don't start over with Microsoft. We just go to the Adobe. So it also gives them an idea of what programs you need to know in order to create what you want for certain different pieces of equipment to produce different things. Any questions from anyone? Nope. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that they all will agree with me that you've provided so many great resources and helpful ideas that they can actually take back and use, and maybe just modify some of those things that you're sharing just a little bit and actually just start right off with them. So thank you so much, Crystal, for all your wisdom and for sharing with us. We're going to take now a comfort break until 11 o'clock, and then we're going to come back and we get to listen to Crystal talk more about her work-based learning and the partnerships that she has with industry. So I'm going to put a comfort break on the screen, and we'll all meet back here again at 11. Thank you, Crystal.
Thanks.
How's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. So I had to pause for the cause. Did they say an official time we were going to start this next session with Miss Miller?
I believe just to be back at 11.
Okay, well, here we go then. So I think most of you have already probably been in the session last time with Crystal. And so I guess there's really no introduction needed. But with that, Crystal, I will turn it over to you and allow you to let them learn more about work-based learning.
Right, thank you. Okay. So we are going, some of this we kind of already went over. Oh, sorry. I've got 3 screens. It just wants to keep kicking them over. Industry partners, I kind of talked to you about them just a little bit. Internships and placements, sending schools, and social media. So let's go over industry partners. So I know that you've probably got spoken to a little bit about this already, but advisory committee make up administration and counseling. So you need to have at least a parent. I suggest a student, and I'm going to tell you the student I usually pick is my BPA president. And on that officer packet that I showed you all before when they apply, it is one of the things that are listed on there is that they have to come to my first advisory meeting and actually attend that. It's the one that we have on campus, and it's in the evening. And then sending school instructor or administration and industry partners. And I get the majority from that group. You don't have to have a huge group that's your actual advisory committee. You can still use a ton of industry partners. They don't have to be on your committee. But I try and make sure that all of mine have at least a parent, a student, a sending school instructor, administrator, and then at least a couple of industry partners. The whole purpose for this is to ensure the quality of your program and that you're teaching what you need to be teaching to these students to make them successful if they go into a career or even on to college. The program functions with accountability. So this is also something that it has to do with the money I get to spend. If I have my administrative committee come in and they say, well, you know, the sending schools have newer software than you have, so why would they come here? Well, that's something that goes in as a negative on my program, and that also goes to my administration, and they're like, oh, we need to put some money in that account and get her where she's at least updated or above where a sending school is. So there's a lot of different reasons for this. And it also creates and maintains partnerships. So as I was discussing a little bit earlier with you all on the job training. So the functions and duties of the members, they're there to advise, guide, and identify areas of growth. So I try and make sure like my industry partners are from different, they all hit a different career major. So for an example, I have our local bank here. Their manager, she's usually on mine, and she tells me what she likes, what program she likes her students to know, and some of the soft skills. And that helps with my business ones, especially my administrative assistants. Then I also have out of Tulsa, Tony Gaskins. He actually helps me with a lot and does a lot of on-the-job training for my students who do graphics, and the ones that also want to do a lot of the post-production like car wraps and wall wraps, things like that. So I try and get them from different ones. I also have a couple of doctors that are on mine because not just for the medical But actually my office information specialists, they hire them probably more than they do the medical, because used to be medical, they all learn the same program. Well, now every office already trains them on whatever medical program they're going to run, but they like them to come in being able to work Microsoft and know basics in Adobe, such as how to make a flyer or a newsletter in InDesign, how to be able to make just a quick little screen, a running screen header and Flash. I mean, just different things. That's typically who they pick. They also provide advice on equipment. So they tell me the things that they would like me to have them already trained on. And I actually have a couple of the Cherokee Nation. They have a big print company here pretty close to me. And they're like, can you train them how to, create in InDesign and export as a PDF and upload to this piece of machinery so we can kick out a newspaper, a monthly newspaper. If they have that training, they've got a big leg up on the ones we hire. And so that helps me know what I need to have as far as equipment to train my students with to prepare them better. A lot of them are your guest speakers. They provide tours. They help with mock interviews for a job, field trips. I also have them a lot for my BPA judges, depending on what it is, like my entrepreneurship. A lot of them at the bank, she sends me her loan officer so he can explain to them when they're coming up with, they have to come up with a financial packet, basically, like if they're trying to get a loan. And they help them a ton, not just judge them, but they help them prepare and understand what it is they have to do. Then assist in job shadowing, on the job training, and placement. So like I said, about 99% of mine that have the on the job training, even if it's virtual, they're creating graphics or logos for a company. If that company has an opening, they typically get hired for the job. Job shadowing, you can even do that where you're at, especially with COVID. You'd be amazed. All my students that are doing their administrative assistant, I send them down to my secretary and she teaches them how to use the fax machine, and they run faxes for her. She teaches them how to use multiple different printers, how to transfer lines. She shows them what she does as an administrative assistant. So they're just shadowing her, but they're also learning at the same time. So all of that assists your students. Again, massive goal for us is to get them placed in a position, a job that they want, a career, or go to college, to school, and further educate themselves. So all of what you need to think of your advisory members as is just an extension of your classroom. They are team members that are wanting the same thing you're wanting. And it doesn't just assist you and your students, it assists them at the same time too, because like I said before, I have them constantly contact me and say, we have an opening in this position. Do you have any students that you could get to apply? If so, if you'll send me their name, I'll send you an online application, and we can go from there. So it helps in them, us, and the students. Examples of projects with industry partners, like they have a leadership academy in Mays County. We have server space donation, LinkedIn. We've got Mid-America is a big one here. They have Google here too. And we actually, not out of my program, but they have hired a couple of ours from electrical to work for Google. Industry tours, Cherokee Nation's really big about helping us with that. And then we also go to Meeks in Tulsa. They show them and let them talk to the actual graphic designers. They show them production of flyers that they make for like Eskimo Joe's. They show them how they make plaques in the plaque shop. They have done some of our wall wraps, but they also show them like where they've done them at TU, everything. They just they have everything there, and they're so amazing to work with, and the kids love it. They give them all notebooks and pens and like little coasters, so they learn a lot from things like that. Also our BPA Community Projects. So one of them that we do is Coats for Christmas, and what that is actually, I don't know, probably 8 years ago, my students came to me and said, we always do an angel tree, which is great, but that's not a need, that's a want for little kids. They're like, we have a need in high schools for kids that don't have a coat. They have no coats. They show up with a hoodie every day because that's all they have. Me, I was like, that's a great idea. So what we do is we contact our sending schools, counselors, and they literally send me like, I need 15 adult extra large coats, male, 7 female, medium. And I do that with all our sending schools. And then we make little tags just like the angel tree ones, and people donate new coats in bags and we just deliver it to them with those tags. Well, your industry partners, I can tell you right now, this last year we had a lot. We had like, I want to say they needed like 140 coats, and we have like 6 weeks to do that in. And I'm in a very rural, probably lower socioeconomic area. The bank ended up, we had like 42 coats left. They came and got all the tags and brought them all to me with the bags, the coats, everything in them, already ready to go. Because they're like, how many do you have left? So you share that with your industry partners, and that also assists you with those kind of things. Volunteer your students, it's great publicity. So we, for Delaware County, we have DEXAM, which is the Delaware County Children's Advocate Group, and we have made their video several years. We actually created, updated their website for them. I've had students do that. They had a t-shirt, designing a drug-free t-shirt, and 2 of my students actually won that, and they got like $50 gift cards, but it was the recognition as well. And getting to create something. So any of those kind of things, I mean, it's more exposure for your students to get their hands on different kinds of projects, but it's also something that builds up their self-esteem and gets them known within the industry. So our ultimate goal is a successful workforce. What they do in their on-the-job training or their internships and placement, it needs to pertain to your area of training. So if I am teaching a graphic student, graphics, I'm not going to go put them in a business office for their on the job or their internship or even job shadow. I'm going to probably get a hold of, like I said, like Meeks or someplace like that needs a graphic design artist so that they can do their on the job training hands-on with what their career major is. Proper communication and setup and follow-up. This is something where you don't just say, well, my student's doing on-the-job training, and other than the days they're here, they're on their own. No, I not only keep in touch with their direct supervisor and boss, but I go there and evaluate, not just them. When I say that, I have actually, and I've only done this once, but I went to a place and it was my first year, and I kind of just inherited an advisory committee that they'd always used. And this was a place that I was told they always send the students to. And the person who was training them would be a person I would have picked to train you on what not to do. So it made me realize also that I need to give this student done with this on the job training and find something that's actually going to train them, other than somebody just have them do their busy work and not explain anything. And that's kind of what they had. So you definitely need to follow up in every way, not just with your paper or, you know, where you've got your grades, but you need to go there. You need to see how the environment they're working in is, if it's a fit for their career major, if they're getting trained properly, or if they're just kind of getting thrown in there and they're frustrated, upset, and it's not going to be a good experience. On the job training is supposed to be something that basically leads to placement. And that would not have been a place I wanted any of my students to end up being placed. So it's both ways. There are other places where I'm like, this is fantastic, I'm going to constantly send them here. So again, just really make sure you follow up on every aspect. Guidelines and procedures of it. I have a whole booklet that I make. Hang on just a minute. I'll share it with you. I have to find it. let me go here. And I have it in digital form as well, but this is something that I send to the office too. And I also meet with them before they ever get my student so that they know what I'm expecting of them to do with that student rather than just kind of throw them in there and not do anything with them as well. Let me see. Again, I have a lot, so I'm sorry it takes me a little bit to find all of these. There it is. Okay. So I send like an introduction letter. And this is an old one, but I send it to who it is and let them know if you're interested or you're not interested to let me know. And then I have a whole packet. So this is everything. It tells you the hours that they have to be there. And I tell them which days they're going to be there because it's not an everyday thing. They're only going to be there 2 days. And then towards the end of their on-the-job training, 3 days a week. Now, having said that, I have had a company before who I knew was going to end up hiring the student, was shorthanded and said, can we have them 4 days this week? And I've said, yes, that's not a problem. Again, it's working with them and they work with you. But I literally give them everything. They get the whole booklet and I do the same thing. My students have to fill out, now we do this digitally now, but they have to fill out time in, time out, hours worked, what they did, what they learned, what skills did you use, what new information or skills did you learn? I mean, everything. And then I let my students know this is how they're going to perform you. This is what they're going to get to do to perform you, to evaluate you. So your human relations, these are the things, your problem solving, your technology skills, your overall evaluation, your work habits, your personality, all of it. I give them everything. So my students don't have guesswork of what am I going to get graded on. To me, it's not a guess. You need to be able to do all of this. And at the same time, these companies, this gives them a guideline too. Here's what I expect you to grade them on. This is what I need for you to do. So it goes both ways. They both need to have a little bit of it. ARC involvement. So our ARC, which is our Academic Resource Center, she used to do the work key exams, but she still does some. She does a lot of career units and kind of what I ask her to. She actually helps my students set up their professional LinkedIn account instead of, with their cat in the picture, which they don't always understand that that's not a professional picture. But we have a day that we professional dress and we take their headshots, and she literally goes over top to bottom what is professional on this, which is basically an online portfolio / social media, and why you don't treat it like it's Facebook or it's Twitter, or any of those things that, you want to keep it professional. She also links to that, their online portfolios. Some of mine do, there's an Adobe, just different programs that they use in here, but they have to put their programs of work in there, and she helps them update that. She also helps them with their college entrance, scholarships, mock interviews. She helps them create business cards, as well as cover letters and all of their programs, basically, of everything that they've learned, makes their resume with them and goes over everything, which is a huge help to me because I don't have time to do all of that, but it does prepare them for when they have to go do their internships, especially if they end up getting placed, because then they can just print all that out and go straight in and understand this is how the interview process works. Sending school partners. So I always keep a list of my sending school contacts for multiple reasons, but one of the big ones, besides just like their front office and their principal, is their counselors. Again, like when we do our codes for Christmas, I send their counselors an email so that they can just send back to me. So let me find where I have that. Oh, somewhere I have it. There we go. So in my advisory packet, I share with them the day before email. This is like before we are going to have our meeting. Then, and I'll have this whole folder that you guys can go over. For documents, I have like a campus map. I have the information that I give them, and I just put this front back, and it's something while everybody's coming in and we're introducing each other, they can sit down and just fill out. They don't do this until the very end, the back part of it. I also give them the roles of the advisory committee, what we expect from them, what we would like from them. And that's what we put on here as well. So all of this is all in a packet that I give them. I also give them a campus map so that, and I email everything as well. Oh, sorry. So they get a campus map, things like that. When I do deal with my advisory, it does help a lot for us. I do thank you cards to them when it's over that I mail out. Let's see. Nope, not that one. I do my meetings. So like when I have to do my template of everything that I have to put in, I just made a fillable form and then I can just fill everything in and it's all ready to go. And you also want this for your 5-year evaluation. It's something that they're going to want to see. So you have everything ready to go when you do use them. Then, like I said, when you get to your sending school, principals and counselors luncheon, we do those a lot at my campus because it brings them in and it puts a face with a name. They know who we are and we know who they are. We do open houses in the fall and spring, and it's usually not right when school starts. We typically do it in like October and then in April, and students can showcase their work, talk about their programs. And it's really, to me, it says open house, but it's kind of a student showcase. My students are the ones that pretty much, I'm here, but they show what they learn, what they do, how they do it. They talk about BPA. They talk about it. Same way with your advisory members. Sending school workshops and trainings. We do 8th grade tours. We do third graders go to work. We also do, we didn't do it this summer or last because of COVID, but we do a tech training for teachers. So what we do is we pay teachers to come in and we pick, I think it's 2 from all of our sending schools. And we don't care if they're a coach, it doesn't matter. We just pick 2 out of each one. They come to us for 2 days and they spend like 30 minutes in each of our programs with us. And we show them and have them create things, but show them basically exactly what we do because they have no clue. And it's something that really opens their eyes. And like, I know at Locust Grove, she's typically on my advisory committee, but she recommends students that are really excelling in like animation or app development. She sees that that's where they want to go. She tells them, you need to go to tech. This is what you need to go in. And so she recruits students for me as well. Career majors. Okay, I know that a lot of you have several. I have 7 career majors. When I walked in, I had 11. And of the 11, 3 were being taught. And the others needed to be dumped a long time ago. Change them. Your advisory committee and the jobs available, there are things that you know that you need. Change your career majors. Thankfully for me, I do have support from my administration, but if you do the research and you have advisory members telling you, we really don't need you to do a bookkeeper anymore, but your administrative assistant, maybe you can include this in your training with them. That right there helps you. So you can drop a bookkeeper full-time as a career major. So there's a lot of different things. Research what is needed and what isn't, especially in your area. Look at the course frameworks. Like I said, instead of me doing just a bookkeeper as a career major, I have my administrative assistant learn aspects of the bookkeeping. So I put it into the course framework. And then to maintain your student base, I usually, and I do even this year, I have a wait list. And how you do that is it's not as much from you, but it's from all of these contacts, from your advisory committee to your students, to your parents. When they see that your student's getting something out of it, or your student enjoys your program and those relationships, that's what maintains your student base. That's what sells it. Yes, you can sell it, but the majority of it comes from your advisory committee, your industry partners, your parents, your students. Those are the ones, your sending school teachers, administration, counselors. Those are what help you maintain your student base. Curriculum delivery methods, there's so many now. There's LearnKey, digital tutors, we've got Certiport, we've got Gmetrics, LinkedIn. We use the LinkedIn Learning. My company actually buys it for all of us, and it has a ton of videos too, but you can do the learning aspect, and I set up things for my students there, but I also make them, like I said, my ARC teacher helps them set up a professional profile on there. They put their resumes, portfolios. So there's so many different places. I'm just going to say, if you don't know, ask. And I did see Paxton and Christy and Carrie show you guys on CTU where all those resources were in alphabetical order that you can just click on the link and go. Because if you're like, I don't even know what that is, well, click on it. You'll find out really quickly. And if you do go to the summer conference, or I guess now it's called, what do we call this now? Summit, Oklahoma Summit. Yeah. So it used to be summer conference. Sorry, I'm used to it. If you go to that second day training, that is the day that you literally, I learn a ton. I pick mine out. I read through everything they tell us it's going to be there. And I'm always excited. And I come back with a ton of ideas from going there. So any kind of training, especially if it's a free training to you, do it. Even if it's online, that will help you in so many different areas. You're just going to have to research or ask. You can ask me and I can send you a ton. Recruitment, attracting high school students, former students is your biggest way that you're going to get them. Your advisory and community members assist. Sending school administrators and instructors, that's where us bringing them in and giving them a little bit of hands-on in each one of our programs lets them have an actual idea of what we teach instead of what they think in their mind a tech center teaches now. And they assist with, like I said, I know the one at Locust Grove, she'll push them to come into my program. Your classroom design, layout, hardware, software, gadgets, you might not think that matters, but here's the thing. High school is very social and kids love being, not all, but for the most part, I mean, that's where they're getting to do everything they want to do. The best way we can beat them is by having a better classroom design, more updated equipment, more updated software, a layout they enjoy. Like I said, mine isn't like a classroom, it's more like a business office. Or even, I mean, they have gaming chairs, and you might not that you think it's a gaming chair. Well, guess what? These gaming chairs, these kids love. That's something that does attract them. All of the gadgets, the Google glasses, the direct to garment, the laser cutter, the laser printer, all of those, that's what gets your students, all of your updated camera equipment. These are things that they want. So career major offerings, we shouldn't be offering today what we offered 10 years ago. When I say that, administrative assistant, yes, it's been updated and it makes some changes. But like I said, like the full charge bookkeeper, honestly, they would rather that be tied into the administrative assistant or the executive assistant, because they want them to have a lot more than just being able to run the bookkeeping software that they're already going to train them on. Curriculum delivery methods, multiple, especially if you do it on a learning management system, an LMS. Like I said, I use Moodle, but not just Moodle. I also use Google Drive. I use OneNote. I use Certiport, Pearson, Gmetrics, Jasper Active, LinkedIn Learning, and you think, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, but I know what works in what area. I use YouTube. I use, whatever's going to work. That's what I'm trying to use. Does mine stay the same? No. Every summer I update. and I change and I see what's been working and what isn't working. And that's when I make my changes or something that needs to be updated. BPA competitions. Again, I'm pretty sure that they have really hit you with these pretty hard. But when it comes time for competitions, especially if you're a first year ever managing a CTSO, ask. Paxton's great, but you can probably ask your students. That's who I learned the most from my first year. Paxton was not the BPA representative for us at that time, but I learned a lot just asking my students who had already been in it. So ask other instructors. We're more than willing to help you and to share. I know when you do competitions, one thing that I did not learn for probably the first 2 years, and I think it's like it's a secret, is when you get that style and reference manual, the first thing I do when my students have something that is going to have to be a paper they turn in, they do that very first page, they set everything to those settings. Then if they're doing like, I don't know, a menu, when they flip to the menu section, they only change the things that it states on that menu. But that first page, that's your default settings. And people don't get it. They think whatever was on their Microsoft is their default setting. No, that first page of that style and reference manual, that's your default settings. Make sure you set everything to that. Then depending on what it is that they have to look up, because it tells you by page, it might tell you to change your header to 2 inches. It might tell you to make it 1.5 as your spacing instead of double. Things like that, your margins, but set it all to that front page first, then go to whatever it is they're working on. Campus activities. Again, we're trying to get students here. We want them to go away from their sending school. We have to offer something they're not offering for that to happen. So we do activities here. One of my final projects for my students to have to perform is yearbooks. My graphic students, I may put them together with some of my business students and say, okay, you guys are having to do your final project. So my business students, you are going to do all of the wording and the typing, and you're going to make the talk or table of contents. And you're going to organize, set up a chart. You're going to get these graphic students, and we're going to see how you're going to organize this. They have to come up with themes visually and verbally, and they do that together as a team. They each get assigned different things, but it's something that we actually kick out a yearbook every year from our campus. And students are like, I get a yearbook from there too. We do digital formats now because we don't want to charge them, but we do it where if they wanted to, they could do a flash drive, or we just provide it for them a link. We do the student appreciation days that I talked to you guys about earlier, where we give them like t-shirts, free food. Free food goes a long way, I'm just going to tell you. Games, we interact with them as a whole campus. Now, again, this is pre-COVID. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go this year. I know last year we did it self-contained in our classrooms, and I don't know where we'll be this year, but I really enjoyed the full campus one. Just things that they are excited about, that they want to do, that gives them a break from just the everyday do work. And then last but not least, if you love your program and you are excited about your program, they're going to love your program. They're going to be excited. If you're knowledgeable, and like for me, I work through every single one of whatever I assign my students. So if I have them doing geometrics, well, I go through and I work through all of my geometrics. I do all of my Adobe, my Photoshop, my Illustrator, my Premiere Pro. I already have worked through it. So when they have a problem, I've probably already experienced it because I already did that project. You might think that's a lot, and it is a lot. But at the same time, that's where they know, oh, she's done this. She can do this. She's already did this. So that gives you the knowledge base you need to be able to teach them as well. For me, I think when you're talking about learning for technology centers, it's not just one piece. It's not just your curriculum. It's your partnerships with your advisory members, with your students, with your parents, with your sending schools, with the administrators, the counselors, and also individual teachers. Getting your program out there, helping your community, supporting your community, volunteering your students to do different things, getting their hands on different projects and jobs. It's not just good for your community, it's good for that student. And again, you don't always have to contact the parent just to be like, little Johnny was a bad boy today. Sometimes it's more about saying, today Johnny did a project online and it was fantastic. This is what it was about. Why don't you ask him about it? Because I'm super proud of him. Those go so much further than little Johnny was a bad boy today. I think parents just think, oh, no, not an email. But when they get that, I just wanted to let you know that I enjoy your student. He's doing a great job in here. He's excelling. Ask him about what he worked on today. He's doing a really unique project. It also gets interaction between that parent and that student, showing ownership of his work and being proud. So really, we got done early. Yay. Anybody have questions? Okay, I see some over here to the side. I see, how did I go about making first contact with industry partners? Well, here's the thing. When I first came here, I inherited the old list, but I think the biggest thing is look at your old list, if you've inherited one, and then contact them. That's where I started. And then I kind of looked in my whole area here, where are the majority of our students getting jobs? What kind of jobs are out there? And then like one of ours is we have a casino just right on the border between here and Arkansas. I'm like 8 miles from Arkansas. I actually live in Arkansas now. So I literally went to their marketing department and said, hi, I have my business card. I said, I'm the new teacher at our Northeast Tech. Here's what I teach. And, I was just wondering if I could talk to somebody to see what kind of students training my students should have and see if we could maybe look at a partnership with some kind of on-the-job training or something. And you would be amazed just going and introducing yourself, have your business card ready, how many of them are excited that somebody is wanting to send them maybe some students that they can have some input on how they're trained. Same way with the bank. I went up to the bank and I said, I teach some career majors that have to do with administrative. Would you be willing? And she's like, of course I would be willing. And I mean, just going and tell them what you're doing while you're there, that is such a huge help. I know, like I said, with Meeks, they had actually came here before I had met them and was doing one of our wall wraps. And when they were doing it, I was questioning the person installing, and the director was here with our director. And when he came out, I was like, oh, I have questions for you. And I said, on equipment, on this, and I had actually wrote a lottery grant. So he let me come up that summer and I did some Illustrator work for him, but they trained me on the different equipment that they had and showed me, even if something like sometimes some of the equipment was really, really expensive, but they might use a part that's another piece that's much cheaper, but gets the job done. So I got that experience by volunteering to do some Illustrator work for him. And in return, he does our tours for us. He creates tons of our graphics, and my students do on-the-job training, and I've probably had 5 or 6 of them placed with him. So it's just getting yourself out there. I know that's not always easy. Like I said, I'm actually kind of an introverted person when it doesn't have to do with this. But to me, the passion is trying to help those students. So if I have to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and go in someplace and introduce myself and ask, who I could speak with, I do it. But once you have those established, I promise it makes you so much easier. Let's see. Is it during school hours? No, I don't. And let's see. You put down, is it during school hours? We do have some industry day visits we can use, and I do sometimes use those. But for the most part, I do it on my own time. A lot of times it's on weekends or even in the evenings, and I get an hour lunch. And I actually, when I went to the casino, I ran over there during my lunch break because it's like 5 minutes from my campus. So a lot of time it's my own time. Like I said, I've used summers to do it as too. And does only one student go? And here's the thing. Today, not all on the job training means they physically have to go there. I had several students that were here that were high school students, because usually it's your adults that do more of the on the job training, but they did theirs online. Like I said, we did it through email on creating logos and wall wraps. And then I also have used on the job training with, even like I said, my secretary, some of my administrative assistants. And it is not just one student, but I don't send them there together. No, I don't send them at the same time because it's their individual experience. If I sent several, they would click together, and that's just not what I want. So like if I have somebody training with our secretary, then they're going to train at a different time if I have somebody else do it. So to me, it's more of a one-on-one. You guys have a session coming up, I see too, on finding jobs online. And that's awesome. And that's where I'm going to tell you too. I don't know how much they've talked to you all about it, but the LinkedIn is we do the LinkedIn and the LinkedIn learning, but you can do a free LinkedIn profile. And if you're going to teach your students about job interviews anymore, they want everything online. They want the cover letter online. They want their resumes. They want their portfolio of work. They want it all online. So like I said, my ARC person, I had her set up with them professional ones. We picked a day and did their headshots where they're professionally dressed. She talks about the information you put on there, helps them upload cover letter, resume, interest. And then my students either use Adobe or they use Behance, which are both free, as their portfolios. We link that where they can, like the job can actually click on that and it will bring up their portfolio. Some of them have actually set it where it has a password, so not everybody can just get into their LinkedIn and click on their link, where they can just give the password to whoever they want the job opportunity to look at it. So I will tell you, I know there are a lot of online jobs that you're going to learn about, but I'm going to tell you, for your students, it is becoming the way for them to get resumes, to look at your portfolio of work. Look at LinkedIn pretty hard. Behance is another online, and you can link the two together where they can just click and get to it. And it's a requirement for my students that those are set up. I do give them a grade. They have to update them. But my ARC also assists, because like I said, I know this first year you're going to feel overwhelmed, especially the first semester. Get her to help. She came to me and said, what can I do? I said, here's what I need you to do. And I gave her everything. Here's how I want you to help them set it up. I want you to use the school email as their email right now. When they leave, they can change that, but right now use that. I mean, I gave them everything, and they have actual professional online resumes. So it's something to look at for your students as well, because again, that is kind of the trend we see. That is where it's going. It's not all about walking in with the paper anymore. And with COVID, there's a good chance that interviews are going to be about like what we're doing right now as well. So you might prepare your students for this as well. And I can tell you, because I did virtual days, we did a hybrid last year. So 3 of my days with my students were virtual. The first time we did it, they were in the classroom with me, and I was talking them through how we use Zoom, how we share a screen, how we change our name, and when they weren't getting it and I'm saying, talk to me, and they're not, I would go over to them and show them physically how to do it. These are all things that you might not think to do, but it's something that a good majority of the students still need you to teach them. If it's not a video game, they may not know how to do it. So walk them through it while you're in class. It's just a suggestion. Any other questions? I think the buy-in, I guess, with potential partners is again, it's what you're excited about, your knowledge base, and you showing that you're there for the right reasons. You want to help them, and it helps you, and in return, it helps the students. So it's that partnership of not just one way. Well, if you do this for me, I'm not going to do anything for you. So like Little Debbie, which is McKee Foods, that is actually in Siloam. So they have actually helped us in ways where their business manager got a hold of me and said, on Saturday, could you do a training for some of my office workers on Excel? And I said, I can, and I can actually get a couple of students to do that with me. And I'm like, we'd be more than willing to do that. We did like 2 hours, and she told me exactly what they needed trained on. My students did it. They got bonus work for it. They helped with it. And then when it came time for BPA, they donated $2,000 for my students going to nationals for BPA to spend on whatever we wanted to spend it on. So that was their thanks. She's like, I would have paid more than that just to have my students, my office workers trained. So that helped. But also those girls that helped, all 3 of them now work in her office. So it got their foot in the door as well. And it got them seeing what these ladies were already doing. So they wanted to do their on-the-job training there, which they did. And then that helped her because she had openings and she placed those students in that position, and they were trained and were able to train her current office workers on programs that they needed updated with. So again, it's just this big circle. You help me, I help you. It helps our community. It helps our students. It helps our job force. So in the end, I think when you just explain things to them and they see your interest and that you're willing to learn what they want you to teach the students, you're giving them that knowledge, they're coming in experienced and professional, all of that matters. And when they see that's what you're kicking out, then they want to help you even more because they want your students to be a part of their organization. And I think that's it. Did I get everybody's questions answered? Well, my school actually compensates me well, thank you. But I am, my personal children are raised. I have 1 grandchild, which I spend time with. But other than that, this is my passion. This is what I do and what I love. And like I said, just being able to help what I call my kids. I've actually had some that were older than me, but they're still my kid. I like to help make them enjoy their careers and what they learn and be able to apply it and feel very confident and competent when they do go to these positions. So that's my goal, to give them the confidence to feel that they're more than competent to be able to do what they need to. I think we're done.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. That's a lot of good stuff. And your experience is so helpful, especially for some of those going into the classroom, especially at the tech center. So we greatly appreciate you sharing your knowledge and being a resource. And I know you wouldn't mind at all if they needed to reach out to you later for questions or concerns. And so you've always been so helpful. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
With that, I think we can all probably just head back to the main room. And from there, I think they're going to probably dismiss us for lunch, but I'll let them do all that, but we'll just head back to the main session. Thank you all.